down like tissue paper, I think I accidentally threw it in the recycle bin. So you get so far that you take a step backwards, and you get further again, and then your kid presses a button, and you're all the way back to the beginning. But
But
by the way, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
2022. We both somehow survived 2022 and the endemic that's COVID continues to be.
Happy 880 for you then, I guess. Almost 900.
Uh, Painful. Uh, yeah. Which I imagine we'll get into some today, especially thinking about. I was talking with. Um,
I felt choked to death first on water. Ugh.
oh,
Ugh.
yeah,
Ugh. At least to be recorded.
aspiration precautions over there for Matt. But I was talking with my wife about it, and she said, "This is a good example for you." And I was like, "What do you mean a good example? This is not a good example. This is literally what I wanted not to happen." And she said, "Exactly. I bet this happens a lot with your clients when they don't achieve the goals that they set. And how do you work through that? How do you get better? This is something you should talk about on your podcast." It's like, well, true. Silver lining, I suppose. So,
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation with some people the other day. Like, yeah, it's difficult to get away from the all or nothing mentality. And I know we work with people that are the same way. As far as like fitness and nutrition, I'm better at it, but like in like personal and professional life, I'm very much the all or nothing mentality. When stuff's out of your control, like 880 of 900 is what, like 95% or something of like
and I don't.
of what.
Let's see how close you are. I haven't done that math, to be honest. I mean, it's pretty close. 97.8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you achieved 98% of your goal,
Yeah.
but
Essentially.
that all or nothing mentality, like it's no, like
Pass, fail. That's all there
98,
is.
yeah, 98 wasn't 100, so you fell.
I was listening to a podcast with Corey Gregory, the guy that was one of the former founders of Muscle Farm Fitness, before its debacle and all those things. And so now he has a different company, a different supplement company, and some other companies that he does a lot of stuff in. But I was listening to him on a podcast talk about he went to a powerlifting meet and he was trying to go for some goal on the squat. I don't remember what it was. But all three attempts he failed. Like he's like, I was talking about. It's like I should have got the first one and I failed, and then I bombed out of the whole meet and didn't hit any of the numbers I was trying to get. Um, and so the next day, he said that he drove home from that meet, which was in Tennessee, and his home is in Ohio. So he had some amount of driving to do, which probably like 7 hours the minimum or more.
Right.
Um, and as soon as he got home, he Googled what happens if I squat every day. And that's when he started the squat every day program. Just to see, just to
Yeah,
get.
so that segues to what I was going to ask you. Like, to me, it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. Like
Right.
he learned from it pretty quickly. So, like, what would you have done differently, if anything? Like knowing now that you hit 880 and not 900.
Well, I mean, I got a long list of things that I,
You're like, hey, I've driven myself nuts about this.
yeah. But really from like a coaching standpoint, um, I think it goes into uh back to the planning phase of it. If I was, outside looking in on what happened with me, um, I don't think I leaned heavily enough on my support and accountability, right? For the people out there, that's what franchise nutrition and fitness provides. That's why we have um, weekly visits for nutrition coaching, weekly visits for the fitness coaching, or bi-weekly visits for nutrition and fitness coaching, right? So that's what we do. So that way we can provide that support and accountability. Because looking back on it, if I remember when I set the goal, I had like 12 weeks to go in the year. And technically that is not long enough to run a powerlifting cycle. So one, somebody should have said, is that really a smart goal? Let's think about it. And I developed it was a smart goal because it ticked all the boxes, but really the achievable thing really should have been looked at. And There should have been a little bit more scrutiny over that. And if I had been working with a coach on that, because we coach ourselves individually, but it's better when you have somebody else that's not your own brain telling you that you can overcome these things. Like, same thing with clients that say that they want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, right? Like, we've heard that. And it's kind of like, that's not really feasible, for generally most people. There are certain people, like a very small subset of the population, that it might be feasible for. And those people have had bariatric surgeries. Again, that's different kind of thing, right? Most everyone outside of that, it's not really realistic to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And so working with somebody that's a support and accountability partner to kind of mirror those goals, because maybe the better goal would have been like, can you hit 880? Can you hit 850? Like,
I can't remember. It's been so long. You talk about 12, not 12 weeks not being long enough, but then it's been so long I can't remember. Did you establish your one rep max before the program for each lift?
no, I did not. Like, I didn't have.
Because looking back now, I would, yeah, that's like, hindsight's 2020. And I'm like, hey, if I'm coaching you, we just have it from the get go and be like, maybe 900 is a little lofty. Like, let's pivot this goal a little bit.
Yeah. And so that, that's one thing, right? So, like, is it really like realistic? Like, is it achievable for you to be able to get there? And I think that is what hinders a lot of people, especially talking about right now, going into the new year and going into people's resolutions or things that they want to achieve, is that they're not necessarily achievable, realistic goals for a lot of people. And that's one thing. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like, as I've been thinking about it since Saturday, here it is Tuesday after that Saturday, Tuesday, also after a like crazy playoff game. That was nuts. I don't know if you stayed up to watch the whole
Oh,
thing.
I did like because I always stay up on New Year's Eve just to watch the flipping ball. So that was perfect timing because I was like,
Literally
"Woo,
perfect timing.
going to bed." And then I've got neighbors who are UGA fans, so I heard, "Woo!" And so I'm like, "All right, I have to go out and see what they were doing." So they had like 20 people that were in their apartment. They're running up and down the hallway like screaming and like, "Here, Matt, Happy New Year!" Drink some of the bottle of champagne. So I'm like Steve Austining the champagne. I'm all over my Georgia jersey I'm wearing. And then my neighbor's like, yeah, like he's like, we cracked open this $77 bottle of champagne with that win. And I'm like, if I'd known that was a $77 bottle of champagne, I would not have put it on my jersey. He's like, he was drunk as shit. He didn't care. You're good. Like, then they're like, come back to our apartment. We're partying. We got Miller Lights with your name on it. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. Like,
I'm surprised that you said that. I'm surprised you didn't jump in. You know, thinking about smart goals, be intelligent. That should be like
well, so actually, what happened is I was planning on going to bed, but I had that taste of champagne, so I was like, I'm going to crack open a bottle of champagne now, and then I went to bed.
yeah. I mean, we did the same thing. We opened a bottle of champagne like right after the game was over. It split it up and everything. We all had that, and then we went to bed. Um,
I was very much already inebriated, so
no, I had already like I said, that was a nice thing to take my mind off of the failure, right? So, like, of the not achieving that. But then, like, all I thought about it a little bit on Saturday, and then all day Sunday, and all day Monday, and all of today. Thought about, like, really, if you have to boil it down, like, when you look at the goal, like, you got all of the things except for like really the achievable thing. You didn't really set yourself up for that. Like, 900 seemed lofty, and here's the annoying part of it, for me: the second squat attempt, which was 335. Like, I set up in the rack and I got the bar off the rack. Something like felt off, and so I was like, don't want to hurt myself, kind of feeling, like something like I'm not stabilized right, and I didn't want to like walk it out and then like that be the
right.
I don't know how to. It's one of those physical things, like like this is not right. But in a powerlifting meet, because I was trying to run my thing like a powerlifting meet, if you lift it off the rack and you put it back, that's it. Like, that's the lift.
And that's where you're rethinking your own self-imposed rules. You're like, no.
uh, But so if I had what I should have done, I dropped the weight and then I hit that, and I remember distinctly putting it up, and my wife was checking my form, making sure that my hip crease was at line of my knee or just below, like in a powerlifting meet. Um, and if I had just redone the weight on the third attempt, I would have hit it. And then I would have only had to pull 350 instead of trying to pull 365. And I pulled 345. So I would have only had to go up 5 pounds to hit the number. So it's like, this, I could have done it. And it's not one of those like, not like that part of it was achievable. Like if I had been, if so, that's the other thing, right? Like the support and accountability. I've done 2 powerlifting meets, right, in my life. Um, and the first one was in high school, and the second one was when I was in college. And the second one, there were people that were legitimate USA powerlifters there.
That second one in college, is that one the UGA Rec Sports would host, or was it a different one? Yeah,
Strong dog.
yeah.
Um,
The ones I couldn't participate because I had to work. Like I was.
um, but I was able to do that, and things that I remember, like when I went, I did all of my first 3, which I literally was, I didn't know what my 1 rep max was. I was just like guessing, like throwing it down, and all these other people, right? So talk about support accountability. They're these people that are actual power lifters that like do it, as their hobby, their number one hobby thing. And some of them probably like some of them are legit. Um, but they uh like gave me coaching points, right? So they adjusted things that I was doing, and they also adjusted the numbers that I was doing. They're like, you should, like, I can't remember what I put down as my second lift on the squat. I know my third one was 495, but my second one wasn't, definitely was not 495. And I think the first one I hit like 385 or 395 or something like that. I just see that that's like a 100-pound jump right there. But they're like, you're gonna have a lot of time between you until you get your next lift. Like you have a lot of time. Like you should go to this percentage of your lift because that looked like it went easily for you. You should go over there and do some body weight squats. So that way you have, because you have so much time, you don't want to get like wait this amount of time
It's
and do some body weight things to keep your blood flow going. Then go that. And if you hit that number, then come back to us and we'll help you pick out the next number. And so that's what I did. And that's how I got the 1200 total that I got, because I just went to these people that were trying to semi coach me and listen to them. Just what the numbers they went with.
yeah, it's amazing what happens when you listen to people who are semi experts to experts in their field.
Yeah. So, and so this time I didn't have that. Right. So, um, trying to go, I went off of percentages, kind of like I knew what I was going for, and I knew kind of the baseline of things. I'll post the um, rest of the videos throughout this week, but you'll see like the bench was not my friend. I am not.
It never has been. That's
So got some work to do there. Plenty of room to.
so if we could just do my bench and then your squat and deadlift would be fine. Like
Yeah. So either way, my that those kind of things, and then I gave myself the 5 minutes between each rep, so that way I gave myself the full amount of recovery time I could have. I literally had a timer going, because that was another thing. I didn't give myself enough time to, like, if I needed greater than 5 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Like I had stuff I had to do. I had to leave to go to mass and everything. Um, so that's part of it. But overall, still, all these little intricacies in there, all of them would be remedied if there was like somebody there, coach, support, accountability. Like you did really well on that last lift. You probably shouldn't go up that much. You should try to do this number, and then maybe you can jump up to the next one. Or um, like you did really well, that number is a little too low. You should go higher. Those kind of things. Like, or set yourself up for that squat again. Just go back to the same weight. That kind of stuff. Like that stuff only exists with a critique outside of yourself. Like it's kind of like what's his name? Jake the Snake. He said, um, the mind has always been out of the heart, not out of the mind. Because the mind can justify any crime or any sin, whereas the heart cannot.
When I think of somebody who's the epitome of good, healthy habits and behaviors, I think of Jake the Snake Robbins.
I realize that you think about him in the later parts of his life, not in the vast majority of his life. But from a philosophy standpoint, that does hold true. Like, if you really think about it, it you're not going to like when we talk to clients, and I tell clients all the time, like Matt and I are like the support and accountability for each other while we were in wrestling. Like, iron sharpens iron, right? So that was there. But once like we're separated, I'm not saying that, you know, Matt's not great. I wasn't getting great. Like I wasn't getting better. Like I didn't have like somebody there to continue to push me. Like Matt had other people that were still pushing him in wrestling, and I was kind of just like off on my own, doing my own thing. And which is fine because ultimately I left wrestling because I had plenty of reasons to do it.
Don't we all?
Yeah, Matt continues to get better because Matt is continuing to push himself, and he has people there to help push him and support him in that role. And now I'm doing other things, and I've definitely better at what I do because of the people around me that push and support me in that. Which is the same thing with all of this, working with clients, things like that. You definitely need somebody that's going to be support accountability. Um,
So how soon till you retest? I think that's the main question. Like when you maxing out again? When are
uh,
we learning from what you did and doing it all over again? Because I want to see 900.
yeah, 16 weeks is what I'm thinking. So 4 months from now. That's an average program length. This week I am deloading, quote unquote, where I just literally don't have the time. So I'm only doing like kettlebell body weight kind of stuff. I'm not doing any like heavy, like my body's still sore from Saturday. Like, just wait till you see the deadlift video. I don't have like a low back arch, but I'm like static holding 365 at like just below my knee. I'm like, can't go further. It's funny. My wife's trying to give me credit. She's like, "Oh, you almost had it." I was like, "That's not even close. Like that wasn't even halfway." Like, um, but either way, like my whole body is still like the delayed onset muscle soreness, the DOMS, are still there. Like this would be a GPP workout kind of week anyway. So this is kind of definitely an
Yeah,
offload.
you're making me curious. I was looking up my big three when I randomly tested it out in November when you were talking about it. Again, no structure. So yeah, it was 335 on the squat, 365 on the dead, 285 on the bench. So
Hey, yeah, nice. See, you got two of the numbers I was going for. Definitely would never touch your bench.
and see, I was disappointed in my bench. I was very happy with the squat and the deadlift.
Yeah, I was just like, these are the gold for me. Like that was the when I before I got started. My wife asked me, she said, "What are the numbers you're trying to reach?" Like 3 plates on the squat, 2 plates on the bench. That'll leave me enough space that I don't have to do 4 plates on the deadlift. Right. So like that was the thing. Um, I easily got the 3 plates on the squat. So that's why I was like, I jumped up to the 335. And just like I said, I should have just left the weight on and did it again. And then I would have been able to probably definitely hit the total. Because the bench was the one thing I was worried about. I was like, I'm going to be low on the bench because I'm probably not going to be able to get 225. And that, like, my chest is still like sore from just like basically pause repping. Like, if it had been like a pin press kind of thing, like
Right.
that would have been me. I was like, and like drop, slink myself out from under the bar, move away.
See, I was intrigued doing mine because like no structured program for one rep max like you were doing, but my strength on different lifts with different rep ranges had significantly increased. Like for instance, like doing incline dumbbell chest press, for example. Like used to trying to grab a set of hundreds for that, I'd be lucky if I could get 5. Now I'm repping that out for 10 easily, and that's within the past year. Like so, double the number of reps. So I was disappointed with the bench press. So they used to be able to bench press 300, but it's not so much muscular stuff anymore, I don't think, as it is, structural with my shoulders amongst other things. And plus, I'm about 10 pounds lighter than I was when I was able to max out at 300 too. So
Yeah.
whatever. And then we've had discussions before, like I hate you, like after I was deadlifting like that I shouldn't have. So yeah, we've done more deadlifts for a while, especially since like I stood up out of bed yesterday. I was like, something's wrong with my back just from getting out of bed. So
Wow.
since I haven't wrestled in 2 weeks, like my body's like, what? Why aren't you punishing me? Like,
Yeah.
body's revolting.
I remember what year it was at this point in time. I think it was like 2004. No, it's like 2005. Like I got in that car accident and like I messed up my shoulder pretty bad. And the doctor was like, "Oh, it's a good thing you work out." I was like, "What do you mean? If you ever stop working out, your shoulder pain's gonna come back." Okay, so I'm permanently locked into working out. And
There's motivation.
I can tell you the doctor was totally correct. Like any times I've taken long term off, I start feeling like my body's not doing the things it should be doing because I'm not working out. So body emotion stays in motion. But you gotta be smart about your motion. You gotta do correct things, which is why I'm doing general physical preparedness or GPP stuff this week. But that should put me close to the um end of April, early May to be able to do another 1 rep test. Um, so I think I can structure. I was working backwards from it, which is kind of the other thing, the other part of it. Like you need a plan for success. Like, you know, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And my plan, while it existed, was like a little too tight. Okay. And then I was also part of my plan involved stuff that was outside of my control. So that should have been more taken into account. Like I needed now I can't I needed the things that would hold my bands to the floor. And Amazon shipping, they were going to arrive at a certain time. And then those never arrived. And I had to return and reorder a different set. And so by the time those all arrived, I'd already lost all the time to do my dynamic effort method stuff. And so, like, I was like, well, there's no point in doing that. And then I contracted a sinus infection again. Um, the joys of deviated septum, tons of fun. Um, and then, it was like, oh, here it is. It's a week. I gotta time to do my stuff.
Okay, I said I was gonna do this. Like, so you were locked in.
Yeah, so Sue's also, yeah, I already told everybody, I was like, this is I'm doing it, so I had to do it. And my wife, she said, this is actually, a good test to see where your like baseline is, because you basically went cold, like you 2 weeks of not consistent workouts, and you still hit that number. So that would be the have you tested yourself prior to doing anything? Now I have, and so now I have a
So there you
standard.
go. So like, and so you're talking about running a 16-week program to put 20 pounds overall on 3 lifts. Like, I like your odds, like that. It seems feasible now.
Yeah.
Seems realistic as far as smart goals go.
Right. Yeah. That's the now it's more achievable, right? It's just 20 pounds on 3 different lifts. And also knowing what I know from the last time, that if I just reset the squat, I probably would have been able to get the total 20 pounds across everything. And that was the other thing too. Like I should have dropped the bench press to a number in between instead of trying to do 225 a second time. Because the amount of height that came off of my chest with a 225 press was like, you should not have tried to put that back on the bar. You should have. But at that point in time, I'd lost the 15 pounds that I thought I was going to get from the squat. So I was like, got to go big or go home. If I had somebody there, a coach or an accountability partner that you know knew more about lifting from that perspective, they probably would have said, "No, you need to go down, drop it to 215, and see what you got." Or maybe I had 220. I can't remember what it was that I hit off the top of my head. Let's see here. It was no, I got 215. Yeah, so I should have dropped to like 220 and see if I could have got 220 instead of doing the 225. Just shave off the 5 pounds, which have also again helped me out on the deadlift. So like all of this would have balanced out, which is essentially how like I ended up with like the 295, 295, 237 or whatever on the bench. So, um,
I
but
mean, it all boils down to what you already knew that your bench is not great. Like,
yeah, I can look in the mirror and tell you my bench isn't going to be great. So like, yeah, don't have a lot of chest. Got a decent back though, so that's a big help on the bench press. A lot of people don't realize, but uh, either way, when it comes to resetting yourself up, what would you do if you failed on a goal? How would you set yourself back up to go? Like, let's say your goal for you, Matt, right? You want a 300-pound bench. You didn't get it. What are you going to do to set yourself up to get back to the 300-pound bench?
I'm going to reassess number one and determine, is that still a realistic, relevant goal? You know, if I didn't get a 300-pound bench because I'm scared that I'm going to blow out a shoulder and the structural integrity is just not there, maybe that's not a smart goal anymore. So if I determine that it is, then I'm going to plan from the get go. Like, I'm going to go, okay, basically like you just said, like creating this program of like what is realistic. So if I did a 12-week program like you did, realized, okay, that wasn't as strong, as long to get as strong as I needed to. I'd go, okay, I'd bump up another 4 weeks. Okay, I'd have, maybe bump up my diet and take in some extra calories, put on a little extra mass to be able to reassess that. Because if I'm not concerned about any other goals, I'm not concerned about leaning out, and okay, I'd rather have that 300-pound bench than leaning. So figuring out what other external factors are there and going from there. And assessing myself, taking video and pictures and everything of what my form looks like and where can I tweak that, and then creating a program that's going to eventually lead me to that goal.
Right. Yeah. Which those are all great things. I don't disagree with any of the thing that Matt said. It's for those that are out there that you're listening to this, thinking about stuff that you haven't achieved necessarily. I know we're talking about a lot in the gym, but let's say it was like a nutrition related thing. Um, it's the same pattern. Like reassess where you're at, make a better plan for the future. Is there a better way to achieve what you're doing? Do you need to, if you're trying to lean out, like lose some fat, do you need to adjust a lot of different little things to help better achieve your goal? You got to reverse diet maybe for a little while to help add on some extra calories so it's easier to cut calories. Um, if you're trying to get bigger, do you need to add in calories to go up? We talked about that on both those things on previous podcasts. What two of them are what's keeping you from getting lean, parts 1 and 2. One is a fitness focus, one is nutrition focus, and then also moving into bulk season. That episode, um, which oddly enough is one of our most listened to episodes. That
People like bulking.
so that can the additional body mass helps you move more mass if you're trying to do that. Um, so those are the kind of the nutrition things we've gone over those before. I don't want to keep recycling everything, but make sure you get plenty of protein, get your fruits and vegetables, get your vitamin D, fortified foods.
Fruits and vegetables? No, I've never heard
What?
that from you before.
Yeah, slide it all in there. Get it in every single one. Uh, like the super cut, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be like 20 minutes of me just saying fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
But, but either way, I think those things are uh, as far as today's big topic. It's like, how do you recover from something that you really wanted to achieve and you just barely fell short? There are still successes in everything. Success is not achieving the goal. Success happens in the work to achieve the goal. Like, did you put in the effort? How did that go? Did you learn from that? What did you learn? How did you grow? There are plenty of things beyond just the lifts that I could focus on that would help me more likely achieve those goals. If I did nothing else with the lifts and I did a lot of stuff outside of it and managed all those things better, I probably would have done better hitting 900, right? Because there's a lot of different mitigating factors in there, which we talk about a lot with clients. Like, I probably talk about um, sleep and stress with clients more than I talk about nutrition and fitness with clients.
Yeah, I think those kind of go on the back burner for way too many people. Like similar to your fruits and veggies, I've talked ad nauseum about sleep. Like yeah, it's, people don't really dictate enough time to recovery. Like you need adequate recovery if you're willing to max out on your lifts and get the 900. Like it's not just happening when you're in there breaking down. It's not just happening when you're eating to recover. It's happening when you're allowing your body that restorative sleep. And I know I've talked about it before. Like we both come from the field of wrestling where people are like, eat right, work out really hard, make all these sacrifices. Oh yeah, just don't sleep. Like
Yeah, that's part of
sleep
the
2 hours a night. Like, like no, you need it.
And it's, in the wrestling world, if you want to take a bump correctly, consistently, you need to sleep somewhere in there for that to be consistent. So,
There's a reason so many of the heroes of wrestling of the '80s were just coked out of their minds because they just weren't sleeping. They had to be.
there's so much in there. We made a mistake with our timestamp. So here's an annoying jump cut.
Maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.